Okay.
Yeah. Yes, Pachi.
Shall I start?
Yes, Pachi.
Thank you. ॐ दक्षिणस्य समारम्भा शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमा अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ता स्मर्या गुरुपरम्परा श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः परिज्ञानाश्रम श्रीगुरुशङ्कर परिज्ञानाश्रम शङ्कर सद्गुरु केशववामन कृष्णपाण्डुरङ्ग आनन्द परिज्ञानगुरुः सद्यो जात शङ्कर सद्गुरुः गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः सर्ववेदान्तसिद्धान्त गोचरं तमगोचरं गोविन्दं परमानन्दं सद्गुरुं प्रणतोऽस्म्यहम्. So in the last session we completed what is Anatma and what is Atma. Of course, only the explanation of what is Anatma was given, taking the three shariras, the Sthula Sharira, the Sukshma Sharira, and Karana Sharira, and then the whole Anatma was explained with respect to these, and then Atma was explained as to what is the Swarupam Atma, what is the nature of Atma. But how to differentiate actually, how to really make that Atma Anatma Viveka, how to discriminate between the Anatma and Atma was not talked about. That is going to talked about in the further verses. Now the Guru is coming to the question asked by the Shishya. What is the question's first question asked? Ko nama bandhaha. What is this bondage that I am feeling? I am feeling I am a samsari. I am a dukhi. I am bound. What is this bondage? Ko nama bandhaha. Kathamesha agataha. From where has this bondage come? And then ka asya pratishtha. What is the pratishtha? What is it that sustains this bondage? And lastly, how is it that I can get free from this bondage? Vimokshaha, asmat bandhat vimokshaha. How is it that I'm going to get free from that? These were the four questions which were asked first. And Bhagwan Shankaracharya decided to answer the fifth question and the sixth question first. That is the Anatma and the Atma. Now, Bhagwan Shankaracharya is going to talk about what is this bondage. We all feel this sense of bondage. Why do we feel this sense of bondage? Because we find that either in the Jagat, which we are experiencing every day, in our transactions with the Jagat, or with respect to our body, mind, sense complexes, with our own body, mind, sense complex, with respect to the Jagat that we are seeing outside, with the set of people whom we call my people, with respect to all these, we don't find anything permanent. Everything is constantly changing, and we do not know what is going to happen next. There is so much of uncertainty, there is so much of insecurity, there is so much of, kind of a fear of what is going to happen, fear of death, fear of illness, fear of aging. At the same time, most of the things are not under my control. I'm not having anything under my control. So, whatever I want to do, I cannot do. None of the situations ask my permission to come. They just come and I have to face them. Sometimes I have to face them with lot of dukkha and klesha. Sometimes, I may be happy. There are very few moments of happiness, and most of the time, those few moments of happiness are followed by very, very unpredictable situations. So the whole Jagat, I find it as a very unpredictable situation, and this becomes my bondage. I feel I'm one against the whole Jagat. I feel I'm one fighting everything else. So this kind of a bondage, this kind of samsaritvam which I have, what is the cause of that? That is what is going to be talked about in the next few verses. What is this bondage? Ko nama bandhaha. The very first question of the Shishya, which was asked to the Guru, that is going to be now taken up for the answer. So let us read the verse 137, 137th verse. Here, this verse is more like a prose, and we cannot really chant it in a particular meter. Therefore, I am going to chant it like how we chant the Shankara Bhashya. That is how we chant it. So, अत्र अत्र अनात्मनि अहमिति मतिः बन्धः येषो अस्य पुंसः प्राप्तो अज्ञानाज्जननमरणक्लेशः क्लेशसन्तापहेतुः येनैवायं वपुरिदम् असत् सत्यमित्यात्मबुद्ध्या पुष्यति उक्ष्यति अवति विषयैः तन्तुभिः कोशकृत्वत्. So now he says, what is this bondage? What is the meaning of this bondage? So he says, Atra, here, what is this bondage? Let me explain to you what this is. Atra, here, hey Shisha, understand what this bondage means. I can very well understand what you are going through. Your dukkha, your samsaritvam, your sense of feeling bound by this unpredictable jagat. What is the whole thing? What is this konama bandha? He says, Atra, here, Anatmani ahamiti matihi, the first line. Here we can go from the first word onwards because it's a kind of a text like thing. It's not like a verse where we have to cull out the words from different lines. We can go from the left hand side to the right hand side. So, Anatmani ahamiti matihi. Anatmani, in Anatma body mind sense complex, I have the confusion that I am the body mind sense complex. This idea, Matihi means what? The idea. The idea that I am this Anatma. Anatmani aham iti matihi. That means what? Anatma, I am the Anatma. Iti, that kind of a understanding. Matihi means the thought or understanding. I have at present the understanding that I am the Anatma body mind sense complex. So he says, Anatmani aham iti matihi. In Anatma, I have the buddhi that I am that Anatma. I am this body mind sense complex. I am as good as the body mind sense complex. The body mind sense complex is limited, therefore I am also limited. The body mind sense complex is changing constantly, therefore I am having that unpredictability. The Jagat is also Satyam. The Jagat is interacting with me, the Anatma, and the Jagat is constantly changing, and therefore there is this insecurity and unpredictability here in the world also. So, Atra, here, this bandha is because of Anatmani, in Anatma, Aham iti matihi. Bandhaha. This is what is called as the bondage or bandhaha. Yesho asya pumsaha praptaha. This is something which a person, pumsaha means a person, a purusha. Purusha here does not mean a male. A person has this kind of a feeling that I am this anatma body mind sense complex. And when such a feeling is got, pumsaha praptaha, ajnanat janma marana klesha sampata hetuhu. Because of this ignorance. What is my ignorance? I don't know I am the Atma. I am that Sakshi Chaitanya Atma. I am that Nitya Shuddha Buddha Mukta Atma. I am the Ajaha and then Amara, immortal, infinite Atma iti I do not know. And because of this Ajnanam, I am considering myself to be the limited Anatma body mind sense complex. And since I'm identifying myself and I'm having an entanglement with the body mind sense complex, it is this ignorance which is making me come back again and again into the cycles of birth and death. As long as I think I'm the body mind sense complex, I'm afflicted by the incompleteness or apurnatvam in that body mind sense complex. And to fulfill that apurnatvam, what do? I do all kinds of actions, all kinds of karmas. And that karma gets me karma phalas. To go through this karma phala, I come back again and again and again into cycles of birth and death. Punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, punarapi janani jatare shayanam. That is what in Bhajagovindam Bhagwan Shankaracharya said. So, what does this mean? When I have an identification or an entanglement, and I think very strongly that I am the Anatma body mind sense complex, this ignorance makes me come back again and again into the cycles of life and birth. And this ignorance is the hetu, the cause for me coming back again and again. What kind of a thing? Janana, Marana, Klesha, Sampata Hetuhu. Janana, Marana, Klesha. Janana is a dukkha, Marana is a dukkha. Klesha means dukkha. Birth itself is a dukkha. It is a dukkha for the mother also, for the child being born also. The entire childhood nowadays is dukkha for the child. When you grow up also, the adult life is also dukkha only. Does it mean that there is no sukha at all? There is, but there are moments, momentary sukha, which is followed by dukkha. Therefore, what is there is janana, marana, klesha sampatha. Janana Maranadi Dukkha. This entire journey from the Janana up till Marana. Marana itself, Jara, Vyadhi is there. Dying also is not that easy. It is a painful death. In addition, there is a fear of death also. So it is a klesha all through. Klesha means dukkha. Janana is a dukkha, Marana is a dukkha, and in between Janana and Marana also it is dukkha. Sampata hetuhu. This dukkha literally falls like a waterfall. It simply doesn't come. The dukkhas just come and rain on me. Sampata hetu. Like a waterfall falling. This janana, marana, dukkha, klesha, they come and fall on me. And yenaiva ayam vapuhu idam asat satyam iti atma buddhya. The third line. What he says is, because of this ignorance, ye naiva, because of this ignorance, vapuhu idam asat, this body, this sthula sharira, sukshma sharira, karana sharira, which is asat. I told you in the last session, last two sessions, what is asat. Asat does not mean that the body, mind, sense complex do not exist. They exist, but they are not the paramarthika satyam. They are not the absolute reality. They are mithya. They are there as though, but really speaking, they are not there. Sat asadbhyam anirvachaniyam. Why? Because the body, the mind, and the sense complex are the karyas or the effects of Maya. And therefore, just like Maya is anirvachaniya and mithya, similarly, the effect of Maya in the form of the body, mind, sense complex, Thula Sharira, Sukshma Sharira, Karana Sharira, all of them are asat. Asat means what? They have no independent existence of their own. Therefore, as long as this asad vapuhu I consider as satyam, I consider this body to be real. Not simply the body is real, I am this body. I am real, but the body is mithya. But I consider, because of the ignorance, for the body to be real. So, idam asat vapuhu satyamiti atma buddhya. Satyamiti atma buddhya pushyati ukshyati avati. I all the time try to keep this body going. I do whatever is necessary to keep this body going. Nothing wrong. Keeping the body healthy is very important because this is the body, the ayatanam, even for moksha purushartha. But there is an undue entanglement with the body. And then what do? Pushyati. I nourish it. I keep nourishing it beyond what is necessary. Ukshati, I try to beautify it, keep it going all the time, forgetting that one day this body is going to go. I feel as if this body is Nityam, it's going to be there all the time. And I do everything to keep it going as it is. I don't want it to age. I don't want it to have any disease. Fine, nothing wrong. Let us do that. But let us be aware that in spite of all this, avati, pushyati, ukshati, avati. That means what? I strengthen the body, nourish the body, beautify the body, and protect the body beyond what is necessary. Yes, we have to protect the body, we have to keep it clean and neat. There's nothing wrong in keeping the body fine, beautifying the body, but when it goes beyond a certain extent, to the extent that I feel this body is the ultimate, there is nothing beyond this body. When this kind of a thought comes, that is what is called as the bondage. And what do I do? I try to surround this body by Vishayaihi, Vishayaihi, by all the Vishayas of the world, by all the objects of the world, by the situations of the world, by the people of the world. I try to keep this body going, strengthen this body, pushyati, ukshati, avati. This body I try to keep on fattening it and strengthening it with the help of all the Vishayas. And what is the example that is given? He says, Tantu bihi koshakridvat. Koshakrid means a silkworm. Gives the example of a silkworm, Bhagwan Shankaracharya. What does a silkworm do? To protect itself, it weaves around it a cocoon of silk. But that which he weaved around, that which the this one weaved, silkworm weaved around itself to protect itself, that cocoon itself becomes the cause of its death. Do you know how we extract the silk? These cocoons are put in boiling water, and then this particular silkworm dies. And that kosha, which, or that particular cocoon which was spun round by this silkworm, that is used for making silk clothes. Therefore, what has the koshakrit done? Tried to protect itself by trying to surround itself with a cocoon made of silk threads. But that very protection it wanted to make for itself to live long, whatever. Millions of years the silkworms have been doing it. Hundreds of years we have been killing the silkworms for silk, but still the silkworms have not understood that that cocoon which they have built for their support is what is actually causing them ultimately their death. And that is the same thing with the human beings also. That though the body is insentient, jada, though the body is born at a point in time, going to die in time, but I am not that I'm not aware of it. I don't want to accept it, and I give a satyatvam to the body and get entangled into that beyond a certain extent. And this is what is called as the bondage. Anatmani Atma Buddhi is the bondage. Considering myself to be the Anatma body mind sense complex, when I'm not the body mind sense complex, I'm that Sakshi Chaitanya Atma. This Buddhi, this wrong notion or the self confusion about myself, this is what is called as bandha, the answer for first question. How has this bondage come about? Kathamesha agataha? That is the second question. Let us see what the Guru answers the Shishya about this. Akhanda nitya dvaya bodha shaktya. That is 139th verse. 139th verse. अखण्डनित्याद्वयबोधशक्त्या स्फुरन्तमात्मानमनन्तवैभवम् समावृणोत्यावृतिशक्तिरेषा तमोमयी राहुविवार्कबिम्बम्. When we talked about Maya, when we talked that Maya is something which is Yama Samaya, there, I just mentioned that Maya is going to be dealt with more in detail when the Bandha is going to be talked about. Now, here in this verse, what is this Bandha? How it has come about? here while talking this, another aspect of Maya which we did not see in Karana Sharira, that is going to be talked about. Now, this Maya or Prakriti has two kinds of powers. One is a power to cover or veil called as Avarana Shakti. Then there is one more Shakti of Maya which can project what is called as the Vikshepa Shakti. So, what normally happens in a jiva, the avidya, Maya with respect to the individual is called avidya, I told you in the last session. What happens with this Maya? This Maya, because of its tamo guna, the tamo guna of Maya has the capacity to cover the real. Therefore, this Avarana Shakti covers as though it covers my idea about the Atma. It covers the Atma. Why does it cover the Atma? Because Tamo Guna Maya, it has the power to cover the real nature of me, the Atma. Now you may ask, Atma is all pervading, you said. Atma is Nityam, you said. And Maya is a Asat or Mithya, you said. How can this Mithya Atma cover the Mithya Maya cover the Atma? As though it covers. How is it? Let us say. Now, there are clouds which are covering the sun, correct? But actually speaking, the clouds are not covering the sun. They are covering my visual axis or where I'm seeing. This avaranam of the cloud is when I am looking at the sun, my vision is covered by the clouds and I cannot see the sun. But it is the sunlight because of which I can see the clouds also, correct? The sunlight is the one which is getting covered by cloud, and the clouds are actually doing the avaranam for my vision when I'm looking at this, at the sun. And it is that sunlight itself which is lighting up the clouds also. Therefore, I say there are clouds there and they are covering the sun. This is how I talk. Really speaking, they are not covering the sun. My vision axis is covered by the clouds. Similarly, the Avarana Shakti of Maya, the covering Shakti of Maya, is something which covers my buddhi. It does the avaranam of my buddhi and does not allow me to see the reality of Atma. Atma cannot be covered. Atma is the ultimate reality, and Maya is Atma's Shakti. Therefore, Maya cannot cover, but as though it covers. Like I gave the example of a movie. The movie covers the screen. Does it really cover the screen? No. The movie comes in between the screen and my visual axis, and I feel that for the time being, the screen is not visible because the movie is as though covering the scene. That is what I see. Similarly, this Maya's Avarana Shakti actually does veiling of my intellect. It is called veiling. Avarana means veiling. Literally, like a screen is drawn in front of my intellect, which does not allow me to see myself as Atma. This is what is as described as the Avarana Shakti covering the Atma. It cannot actually cover the Atma. It is as though it is covering the Atma. When the Atma is as though covered, when I don't see myself as the Atma, then the Vikshepa Shakti of Maya comes in and projects something which is unreal. This is the handiwork of Maya, covering that which is the truth, veiling the truth, and projecting the false. Veiling the truth is called as Avarana Shakti, projecting the false is called as the Vikshepa Shakti. Similarly, a magician's magic veils the magician, projects a magic. A movie veils the screen and projects a magic, projects a movie. A mirage water, it veils the sand underneath and it projects waves of water. Similarly, when it comes to me, the Jiva, this is the reason for bondage. This is the reason from where the bondage has come. Why is it that I don't know myself? because the Avarana Shakti of Maya has covered my intellect in seeing the truth of myself as Atma. And when the truth is covered, when the reality is covered, unreal idea is projected. What is unreal? Body, mind, sense complex. So, what do I say? I am the body, mind, sense complex. Many times I don't even know that there is something called as Atma. You ask, you just, ask this question to anybody who's not exposed to Vedanta. Say, ask this question: do you know what is Atma? No, I don't know. Do you know that you are Atma? No, I don't know. All the time I am Atma, but I do not know there is something called Atma. I do not know that I am Atma because my idea or knowledge about that Atma and my knowledge that my being that Atma is completely veiled by this tamo guna of Maya called as Avarana Shakti. Because of this Avarana Shakti's veiling of the truth, the untruth as to my identification as I am the body, I am the mind, I am the sense complex has come about. This is the reason why bondage has come about. Let us see the verse here. Akhanda Nitya Advaya Bodha Shaktya. This Atma, which is Akhanda, which is indivisible, Advaya, one without a second. Bodha Shakti, that which is of the nature of consciousness, that which is of the nature of awareness. Spurantam Atmanam Ananta Vaibhavam. This infinite Atma, Ananta Vaibhavam. And this Atma which manifests as the entire, I am that Atma, but I do not know that. Why? Let us see the third line. Samavrinoti avriti shakti resha tamomayi. This tamomayi Maya, this Maya who has the three gunas which we have already seen, the sattva guna, rajo guna, and tamo guna. So what happens? The tamo guna of Maya samavroti, samavrinoti. This means what? It covers, it veils. It is like you have a light and with a dark curtain you cover this light. Then what happens? The light is there, the light is on, the light is shining, but the dark curtain is actually veiling the entire thing. People cover their faces with veils. The face is there, the bright face is there, but it is covered by a veil. So you do not see that face. And when you don't see that face, you can assume it to be anything. You can fantasize anything about this face. Similarly, this Maya Shakti, especially the Tamoguna of Maya Shakti, Tamomayi. Tamomayi means what? This Maya, which is Tamomayi, Samavrinoti, it covers this Atma, which is what? Akhanda, Nitya, Shuddha, Buddha, Bodha Shakti Atma it covers. How does it cover? It really does not cover. My buddhi is covered in seeing myself as that Atma. Just like I said, the light is shining there. Nothing is wrong with the light. There is a very black curtain, so I don't see the light. The sunlight is coming in, but I cover all the windows with the dark light, dark curtains. Then what happens here? The light does not come in. Nothing wrong with the light. The light is there, but I'm covering my field of vision with covering. That is what is happening here. And when the Tamomayi Maya covers or does the avaranam of the reality, the Rajoguna of Maya projects a Vikshepa. Projects, Vikshepa means what? Projects something which is not real. Like a movie is projected. That is why we say anything projected is mithya. It is not the reality. When I project something, it is not the reality. It is only a projection. I project something which is not true. So with the Avarana Shakti covering as though the Atma, the Rajoguna of Maya forms the Vikshepa Shakti and projects something which is a false notion. That is why I keep on thinking of myself to be this body, mind, sense complex. Until this Avarana Shakti is removed, For that, I have to understand that I am this Atma. It is the Avarana Shakti of Maya which is covering me, and I have to take the help of Guru and Shastra to remove this veil of ignorance from me. This is what I have to know. Until then, whether it is lives together, millions of lives again and again, I am born with the same avarana and the same vikshepa will go on again and again. And what is the example he is giving here? The example for this last word, Rahu river Arkabimbam, like eclipse. You know, eclipse, solar eclipse. When solar eclipse is there, the Rahu planet, which is a shadow planet, the shadow of the Rahu, as though covers the sun. Is the sun really covered? No, because Rahu is not a proper planet, also like Earth and Jupiter and Saturn. Rahu is a shadow. We call it as the nodes of the moon, they're the shadow. But what happens? This Rahu comes in the middle of, it covers the sun, and I cannot see the sun. The disk of the sun is covered, but it is not covered totally. For some time it may cover. That's why we have that partial eclipse, then the diamond ring appearance, and then it is covered. What is covered actually? Sun is not covered. My view of sun is covered. That is why an eclipse cannot be seen by everybody in every place. In different countries, in different latitudes, different longitudes, you see the this one. Why? Because this Rahu eclipses the sun. Just like this Rahu eclipses the sun, as though, really speaking, the sun cannot be eclipsed by Rahu because Rahu is a shadow and sun is a huge star. It cannot be. But it covers, it veils my vision, and for that particular few minutes, I see that the sun is completely eclipsed. So, this eclipsing of my real nature, Atma, and then projecting myself to be something which I am not, this is the way the bondage has come about. So, this is how the bondage has come about. Now, again, he says, explains the same thing again, how Vikshepa takes place in the 140th verse, verse 140. तिरोभूते स्वात्मनि अमलतरे तेजोवति पुमान्. This also we cannot chant like any other verse because it is a prose verse. Let me chant it like the Bhasha only. तिरोभूते स्वात्मनि अमलतरतेजोवति पुमान् अनात्मानं मोहाद् अहमिति शरीरं कलयति ततः कामक्रोधप्रभृतिभिरमुं बन्धनगुणैः परं विक्षेपाख्या रजसः ऊरुशक्तिर्व्यथयति. It's a big verse. It's not a verse, it's a text, but in a verse, in a text form. So, once this Atma is eclipsed, Tiro Bhute Svatmani, Amalatare Tejovati, this pure Amala, Tejovati, the shining light of consciousness, once it is eclipsed, Tiro Bhute, once it is eclipsed by the Avarana Shakti of Maya, then what happens? Because of this covering, next line, Mohat Anatmanam Ahamiti, because of this tirobhutam, because of this veiling of the real nature of Atma by the tamo guna of Maya, what happens? I get into a state of self confusion. Since I don't see what I really am, I get into a state of self confusion. I don't even know what I am. I don't even know who I am. I know I am, if somebody asks me, are you there? Yes, I am. I am. I am. It is all the time that I am feeling is there. But I am that Atma iti I do not know. It is like seeing a raju, seeing a rope in semi darkness and mistaking it for a stake. There is something there, but I don't see it clearly. And instead of the rope, I take it to be a snake. Similarly, I know that I'm there. Aham iti, constantly that Spuranam is there. I am, I exist, I am there. This constantly is there. But I am that Atma, I am that Amala Atma, I am that Nitya Atma, I am that Shuddha Atma, I am that Bodharupi Atma. Iti I do not know. This is what is called as the Tirobhuta, partially, incompletely veiled. I'm not veiled as far as I am is concerned. I know I am there. If somebody calls me by my name, I immediately turn back and see I am there. If I'm sitting somewhere and somebody asks me, are you there? Yes, I'm there. All the time, that aha must be, that particular feeling is all the time there. But I am that Atma iti I do not know. That knowledge is what is covered. I am Atma iti knowledge is covered. It is eclipsed by the Avarana Shakti. And because of this eclipsing, there is this confusion, moha. Moha means what? Delusion or confusion. And because of this moha, anatmanam, okay, because of this confusion, I take myself to be the anatma, body, mind, sense complex. What is this anatma? Shariram kalayati. Second line, last two words. Anatmanam shariram kalayati. I take myself to be this body mind sense complex. Shariram iti. This anatma for me right now is the shariram, because now Shankaracharya is talking from the point of the individual. For me, the individual, this Sthula Sharira, Sukshma Sharira, Karana Sharira is the anatma. And therefore, what happens? Atmanam mohad. Anatmanam mohad ahamiti. I am the anatma iti out of confusion. I take myself to be this shariram. Tataha, after that, what happens? After I have confused and I do not know myself to be the Atma, I know I am, but I do not know I am that Atma, then who am I? Falsely, I project myself to be this body, mind, sense complex. What is this projection? It is the Vikshepa Shakti of Maya. Tataha, from there, Kama Krodha Prabhuti Bihi Amumu Bandhana Gunaihi. So, Rajo Guna of Maya projects this body, mind, sense complex as the reality, and I develop raga, kama, and krodha because I identify myself with this body, mind, sense complex. Kama, krodha. We saw in Bhagavad Gita, kama yesha, krodha yesha, rajoguna samudbhavaha. So this rajoguna of Maya not only makes me identify myself with this body mind sense complex, but makes me full of raga, kama, krodha, dvesha, etc. So all these rajoguna qualities come about in me. So he says, Param vikshepakya rajasaha uru shaktihi. Uru shaktihi means a strong power of rajas, the strong power of Maya, which is born out of Rajoguna, it projects a Vikshepa. Vikshepa means it projects. Vikshepakya, Param Vikshepakya. It creates a grand illusion, a grand delusion, Vikshepa, like a projection of a movie it creates. And it is created out of what? Rajasaha. Out of Rajas, this is created. And this becomes a strong Raga Dvesha Uru Shaktihi. Last word, Uru Shakti Vyathayati. This strong force, the Rajoguna's strong force in the form of raga, dvesha, because of my entanglement with this Sthula Sharira, Sukshma Sharira, gives rise to dukkha for me, vyathayati. This is how the bondage is continued and it is sustained. Next, in the next verse, in the 144th verse, he says that he summarizes these two Shaktis. And what does he say here? Yetabhyamev Shaktibhyam बन्धः पुंसः समागतः याभ्यां विमोहितो देहं मत्वा आत्मानं भ्रमयत्ययम्. So these two very, very strong forces of Maya. We saw all about Maya 2 sessions ago. Now we are seeing a different aspect of Maya, the two powers of Maya, the Tamoguna of Maya, which can actually cover or veil the truth, and the Rajogunam of Maya, which can project something which is unreal. That is what is happening in the Jagat also. It covers the Brahman, which is the Adhishtanam of the entire universe, which is the Avarana, and projects a false universe of names and forms. When it comes to me, the individual, it veils or does the Avarana of my real nature of Atma, and it projects Vikshepa Shaktiya, it projects a wrong notion, a wrong confusion, and a notion that I am the body, mind, sense complex. So ultimately, the Avarana Shakti and the Vikshepa Shakti of Maya give rise to what? Delusion and confusion. Delusion and confusion about what really am and what I am not. I am confused about what I am and I take myself to be what I am not. So I don't know what I am, I don't know what I am not, but I take myself to be what I am not and forget what I am. See the fun. I am, I don't know what I am. I take myself to be what I am not. This is what is happening with the two Shaktis of Maya. So he says, Yetabhyam eva Shaktibhyam. With these two Shaktis, Avarana Shakti and Vikshepa Shakti. These are all very important aspects of Vedanta as to how the bondage is brought about. May be difficult for the first time listeners, but one has to listen again and again. It is very logical. If you look at this, there is nothing to just believe in what is said. It's very, very, very logical. When something is partially covered, we always mistake it to be something else. We have always seen a tree being mistaken for a, or a plant or a small shrub being mistaken for a person standing there in dim light. Something is fallen on the road in a dim light, I take it to be something else. This is Avarana and Vikshepa. That is what is happening, which is a classical example given of Raju and Sarpa in our Vedantic teaching. So, Yetabhyam eva Shaktibhyam, by these two Shaktis of Avarana and Vikshepa, Bandhaha Pumsaha Samagataha. This is how the Bandha has come. Why should it come like this? This is the Mula Avidya. This is the Avidya with which we are born. Because of this confusion, only the transactions of the world are taking place. Because of this confusion, only Maya is able to go on creating millions and millions and millions of creations. So, why it has come? It is there. It is Anadi, which was said earlier. Anadi. From beginningless time it has come, but we can end it with this knowledge by understanding what I am, by understanding my real nature, and understanding I'm not the body mind sense complex. I can end this confusion for myself. Therefore, he says, Yetabhyame, that is going to be told later. How I can end this with the help of Guru and Shastra, how I can end this confusion and delusion for myself is talked about later. Now, Yetabhyam eva Shaktibhyam Bandhaha Pumsaha. The human being is continuously going from confusion to confusion. Every life is a confusion. Life after life, I am born in confusion. I live my life in confusion and die in confusion, come back again with the same confusion. And Maya is successful at her handiwork. Her means because Maya is Strilinga, that is why I am saying her. Maya is capable of carrying on her work of Avarana and Vikshepa without any disturbance, unless by some grace of Ishvara and by my Purva Punya, I start inquiring into this, like we saw in the first few verses of Vivekachudamani, when I realize that there must be something other than what I'm going through. I can't be just coming like this again and again and going back. There must be something other than this. The truth must be something else. And when I inquire into it, then I find out what the truth is. Many times we don't even know that we are in an illusion. That is the Maya. I'm in an illusion. I'm deluded, but I'm not even aware that Bhranti is something which I'm not even aware. Sometime in this only, Shankaracharya compares it to a drugged or a drunk person. A drunk person or a drugged person, the Bhranti is so much that the person does not even realize it is his Bhranti. So we are not even aware of this delusion. And therefore, what happens? Yabhyam vimohitaha deham matva, considering myself out of moha to be this body, mind, sense complex, Brahmayati ayam. I keep coming back again and again and again. I keep coming back into this samsara. And what kind of a samsara is this? That is what is going to be told in the next verse. That is the 145th verse. In the 145th verse, the type of samsara, what is this samsara is being talked about. We may not be able to complete it, but this verse is very similar to Urdhva Moola Madashakam. If you remember the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the first verse, Urdhva Moola Madashakam Ashwattam Prahuravyayam Chandasi Yasya Parnani Yastam Veda Savedavit. That particular verse, the same verse is going to be described here as to what is this samsara. Out of this confusion and delusion, what kind of a samsara I beget as a jiva begets this samsara again and again and again. What kind of a samsara is this? That is what is going to be talked about in the 145th verse. बीजः संसृतिभूमिजस्य तु तमो देहात्मधीरङ्कुरः रागः पल्लवम् अम्बुकर्म तु अम्बुकर्म तु वपुः स्कन्दः असवः शाखिकाः अग्राणि इन्द्रियसंहतिश्च विषयाः पुष्पाणि दुःखं फलं नानाकर्मसमुद्भवं बहुविधं भोक्ता अत्र जीवः खगः. The jiva or the individual is compared to a bird which is perched on a tree, the tree of samsara, jumping up and down. We have a Upanishad called Mundaka Upanishad, in which also we have a similar thing which is explained, where it is said, Dvasuparna Sayuja Sakhaya. How a jiva bird is jumping about up and down in the various branches of the tree of life. Of course, it is given in little differently in Bhagavad Gita and in Kathopanishad also, Urdhva Moolam Avakshakaha, it is the same verse is available in the Kathopanishad also, from where Lord Krishna has taken it and incorporated into Bhagavad Gita. So, what is this samsara into which this jiva, who is confused by the Avarana Shakti and Vikshepa Shakti of Maya, comes back again and again? And what is it? How this bondage is sustained? How the tree of samsara and this bondage is sustained? That is talked about here. He says, Bijam samsriti bhumijasya tu tamaha. Bhumija means a tree. Tree is the one which comes out of the earth. Therefore, a tree is called as a bhumija. What is the seed of this tree of samsara which keeps coming again and again? Tamaha. Bijaha samsriti bhumijasya tu tamaha. Samsriti means samsara. For the samsara vrikshaha, for this tree of samsara, what is the bijam? What is the seed? It is the ignorance. Tamo guna of maya or ignorance. This veiling, this ignorance of what really I am. This is what called the tamaha. Then, what is the ankuraha? What is the sapling that comes out of this bija? Dehatmadhihi ankuraha. Deha Atmadhi. I'm the body. I'm as good as the body. I'm as limited as the body. This Dehatma Bhava. Dehatma Bhava means what? I'm the body. Iti idea. That is the sapling of this tree. That is how the tree starts growing in the Ankuraha sapling form. The bija is the Tamoguna Avaranam of Maya, and this give rise to the Vikshepa, where I say I am the body mind sense complex. This becomes the sapling, the beginning of the tree of samsara. Then ragaha pallavam, the foliage, the leaves of this tree are raga, kamas, different desires. As many leaves and foliage is there in the tree, those many desires I have, those many kamas I have, wanting something, becoming something, all the time wanting this, wanting that, becoming something, not happy with what I am. There are millions of things which I want, not satisfied with anything. So, ragaha, the desire for attaining things which I don't have, and attachment to the things that I have is raga. That is the difference between kama and raga. Kama is what? Desire to possess and attain things I don't have. Raga is the attachment to the things which I have and which I possess. So, Kama and Raga are like the Pallavas or like the foliage. Ambu Karma, the karma, all the actions that we do, karma is like water. It is like watering the plant. The karmas are the ambu, because when you water the plant, it grows, the phala comes. That's why karma in the form of karma phala becomes the water that I plant, water with which this tree of samsara grows. Ambuhu karma hatu vapuhu skandaha. This body becomes the main stem of the tree of samsara. Everything else is around it. The main tree of samsara, the main stem becomes the vapuhu. I am the body, the tree of samsara. So much entanglement, so much attachment to this body. Then skandaha asavaha shakhikaha. I'm reading the second line. Asavaha, the pranas, the pranamaya kosha, the prana, the physiological body. The prana is the shakhikas, the branches. The prana is the one which makes me do all the karma, and the prana is the shakhas or the branches. Then agrani indriya samhatischa, third line, the tips of the twigs, when the tips of the branches have got small twigs, where actually the new leaves come, the flowers come, the fruits come. So, agrani means the twigs which are at the end of these branches or shoots. They are nothing but the indriyas. The indriya samhati, that means the group of indriyas are as though the tips of the twigs which are coming out of these branches. Vishayaha pushpani, all the objects of the world are like flowers. They are like pushpani. Naturally, when the pallavas, when the foliage is raga or kama, all the vishayas become the object of my kama, and they are like flowers. I want them, I want them, I flower. My desires flower in the form of getting whatever objects I want. Vishayaha pushpani, phalam dukham. Phalam is dukham. Sometimes that's why people say Vedanta is very morbid. It always says dukha. Is there no sukha at all? But we have to understand one thing. If we see our own lives, if we see sukha is there, but the sukha is always momentary. Sukha is always a seed for the dukkha to come. Dukkha is always something which lasts a longer time. Dukkha is always something which is stronger, whereas sukha is something much weaker and lasts for a very short time. Therefore, I'm less of a sukhi and more of a dukhi. Therefore, he says, Dukkham phalam. What is the phalam? What is the fruit that is born out of this karma phala? The karma phalas are the fruits. The flowers are the objects which I utilize, for which I desire. And whatever karma I do to get these objects, the karma phala is what? The fruits of my karma are the karma phalas. because with the karma I have watered this tree and I have got these fruits also. So when I get the fruit, I have to eat the fruit. The fruit may be sweet, it may be sour, it may be bitter, whatever it may be, I have to eat that fruit. So dukham is phalam. And nana karma samudbhavam bahuvidham Bhokta atra jivaha. This jiva, I am the experiencer of all these things, and I'm like a bird. This jiva, which is within this body, is like a bird which is in this body today. Tomorrow, when this body falls, the jiva flies away, comes back onto the tree of samsara into another body, lives there for some time, waters the plant, goes through the karmas, experiences the karma phalas, leaves this body and goes again, goes to another branch, gets another body, goes through the same thing again and again. Millions and millions and millions of lives, the same thing is gone through again and again. And this jiva is who? Nana karma samudbhavam bahuvidham. So, as this bird, jiva bird, different kinds of karmas I do, different experiences I experience. Most of the experiences are in the form of dukkha, and this jiva, me, continue to inhabit this tree of samsara. I never leave this tree of samsara. I'm all the time there. I may be on one branch, higher branch in some other loka next life, come down to another branch. I may be born in any of the lokas as any of the jiva, but then because of this avarana shakti and vikshepa shakti, because of this confusion and delusion, I keep like a bird coming back again and again and again into this tree of samsara. I do not try to find out what is the moolam, what is the root of this samsara vriksha. I don't try to find out. What does Krishna say in Bhagavad Gita? You have to find out what is the moolam, what is it that sustains this tree of samsara, and cut this tree of samsara jnanena asanga shastrena dridena chitva. It says, with the axe of wisdom and vairagya, cut asunder this tree of samsara, which Bhagavan said in the 15th chapter. So, this is how it is sustained. So, what did we see? What is bandha? O Nama bandha, we saw. Anatmani Atma iti buddhi is bandha. Kathamesha agataha. How did it come about? Bhagwan talked about the two Shaktis, the Avarana Shakti and the Vikshepa Shakti, because of which this particular bondage has come about. How is it sustained? This was talked about as the tree of samsara, how the particular samsara for a jiva bird is continued again and again. So the three questions, ko nama bandha, kathamesha agataha, asya ka pratishtha is already talked about. Next is katham vimokshaha asmad. What is the answer for me? Where is the question of how is this that I'm going to get out of this? That we'll see in the next session. But what he says is ultimately one has to surrender to the Guru and Shruti Pramana and understand my real nature, sort out this confusion. The only way to get freedom from this kind of bandha is to surrender to the Shastra scriptures and the Guru and understand what I am really, what I am not, and then get out of this tree of samsara, which we will see in the next session from the 148th verse, which is how does one get freedom from this samsara tree? How does one get freedom from continuous sustenance of this bondage? Bondage does not come and go away. I have to make it go away. As long as I hold on to it, bondage continues. It is sustained. It is self sustaining, like what we saw. Like how a tree sustains itself, it sustains itself. I have to put an end to it. I have to jump out of the tree of samsara. How do I jump out of the tree of samsara? That is what is going to be talked about in the future verses. I think we should finish with this. ॐ नन्दन्तु साधका सर्वे विनश्यन्तु विदूषकाः अवस्थाशाम्भवी मेस्तु प्रसन्नोऽस्तु गुरुः सदा सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः, सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु, मा कश्चित् दुःखमाप्नुयात्। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ तत्सत्।